ready.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, everybody. We're opening the March 10th Planning Commissioner meeting. Terry, would you mind doing our invocation, please?
Glad to.
Thank you.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day you've given us. We thank you for all things that you've given us, and we praise you for them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And would you lead the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Hall, absent. Mr. Merritt is absent. Ms. Paulrang,
Present.
Mr. Stryker,
Here.
and Chairman Riga.
Yes, and we do have a legal quorum, so we're going to proceed with the meeting. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being interested in what we do here in the city. We've got a relatively light agenda today with just 2 requests for a lot split, and then we've got some administrative things that we're going to be reviewing with Tony. Mr. Whaley, how are you, sir? Well, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium here, just have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Would you mind just telling the group give us a summary of what's going on? And we have a lot of the paperwork already.
I know you do, but I just
Yeah.
made a copy of the whole,
Oh, excellent, very
the
good.
whole parcel, and
Outstanding.
highlighted on there what I'm hoping to do.
Very good.
I think, and maybe Tony alluded to some of this already. I'm Dave Whaley, by the way, 45 West Cooper, right before you go over the bridge down there. And I bought a parcel in 2021 and have rehabbed it. It was a, kind of a drugville when I bought it, and rehabbed all the units, and now I'm hoping to change it over into a regular neighborhood. As we approached this last year, kind of our recommendation from Anchor was, yeah, sure, but you just do it all at one time, and I'm just not able to do that. So I'm hoping to. I did build one beautiful house that you guys authorized last year. I appreciate that. So that was on lot 11,
I think we've
which you
seen
see here.
that. It's the one with
And
the elevated palm trees there?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Thanks for improving the neighborhood. We sure do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
That does look very nice. Done very tastefully, and it's really improving the neighborhood.
So I've pulled out the next trailer, and I'm proposing to build a very similar house, a sister house to that. It'll look the same. I'll change around the front and whatnot, but that floor plan works out very well for our customers. So we're probably going to keep very similar to that floor plan. It's a 5-bedroom, 5-bath, and we've managed to fit all that into about a 2,000 square foot footprint, which really works out well. And so I know Tony was just mentioning to me that the parcel as you see it there's kind of a road in between. So part of it, half of it sits over on one side of West Cooper. That side is mixed use. The other side is residential, the side that I'm addressing tonight. And so as you can see, I've pulled the one trailer off already there, and I want to build on that lot, it's contiguous, it won't be impacted. But when I pull the next one off, when I come back when I make enough revenue to build the next one, it's going to have to pull. I'm going to have to pull
off.
off.
The house trailers are going away, essentially.
Yes, sir.
So is lot 10, mind if we ask a couple of questions, and
Yes.
then you can kind of fill in the gaps?
Yes, sir.
So is lot 10, that's the one you want to go ahead and build a new single-family dwelling on?
Yes, sir. Just
Okay,
adjacent to that blue one.
Very good. And that is low-density residential,
Yes,
is that
sir.
right? And then where the little fishing village is and all the house trailers that are in the big long row, that's the MU1
Yes, sir.
area right there? Okay, I think we've got that. And then ultimately, that area, lot 10, that was essentially established back in 1952, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think I've supplied
It was
with
about,
that.
15 years before we became a city, and at some point, from what I understand from the property record, somebody combined all that property back to one parcel. So I think what Mr. Whaley's wanting to do is kind of take it back to where it used to be. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
I'm just unable to do it all at once.
So essentially what we got right there is we've got about 8,800 square feet in that lot 10, and that's
Yep.
where the single-family home would be built. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's perfect. That meets the density requirement, because the requirement ultimately is that we really don't want more than 5 residences within 1 acre of land. Acre of land is a little over 43,000 square feet. So you've got more than you need there, and then we have a minimum lot size of 7,500. So it meets both of those requirements. So right now there's a couple of other house trailers there, but you're taking those off. Is that right?
Not immediately.
Okay.
As soon as I can, like, I've
Just in lot 10 now,
Just
because
in
that's the
lot
only
10.
thing we're focused on.
That's the only thing we're focused on. When I come
Okay.
back next time, as you can see, I'll have to pull all 4 trailers at once to
Okay.
move on to the next project.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I'll be likely building 2 at a time and losing 4. So
I got you.
that
Because right
is,
now they're revenue generating?
they're revenue generating, and as
Okay.
soon as I generate that revenue, that's my focus, is to turn that into a
Okay.
a
But lot
establishment.
10, the projection for lot 10 will be that there's only that single-family dwelling at some point. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Not at some point. I'm not procrastinating. I'm ready to get started as soon as
Okay.
we can.
So that's what I mean, lot 10, so the project for lot 10
Is a single
is gonna
family.
be that there's gonna be a single-family home, so we'll have 8,812 square feet with just one single-family home.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Is
All right.
lot 10 vacant right now?
It is, sir. I pulled the trailer off in
That's
December.
what I thought you said, yeah.
Okay, very good,
Thought I understood that.
very good. But what he was referring to is the density concern.
Right.
Because the
right,
density concern is, it's one area and it's all his,
right.
and it's technically in violation of the density rule
Because of the
other
11
ones, and
and
that's
12,
why
yeah.
we are going there. But it looks like that's his, and anybody who's eaten at the Thai Noodle that's driven down that road has seen Mr. Whaley's
Yeah.
really cleaning up the neighborhood. I think he's been doing some really nice work
Very
down
good.
there. And so with our goal being the focus of lot 10, and him meeting the density requirement for lot 10,
Yeah.
with no other residences on just lot 10 right now, right?
Yes, sir.
And it meeting the minimum requirement, I think that's really all we really need to be focused on right now, because his future business plan is to also assist the city with the density issues, which currently are non-compliant. However, if we read what Mayor Kelly wrote him, because in his letter, he granted another building permit on lot 11 because he was doing the same thing, and he's built a beautiful home on it. So we have a model to look at. So what I'll ask for is a motion to approve with conditions, or deny from one of our commissioners, and then I'll ask for a second if I could.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Very good,
Second.
thank you, Terry. And we get a second, can we get a vote, please?
Sure. Ms. Paul Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Stryker,
Yes.
and Chairman Riga.
Yes, and Mr. Whaley, thanks for all your good work. We
Awesome.
appreciate what you're doing for the city.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Okay, Mr. Santucci,
Yes, sir.
could you come to the podium, please? Thanks, Mr. Whaley.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so Mr. Santucci, you are under contract to purchase this property.
Yes, sir.
So who will actually do the lot split, you or Mr. Holbrook?
Greg and I are working in tandem. He knows I'm executing on it. He's more moral support, but he is the seller and the owner of the property.
Okay, and are there any other owners of that property?
No, sir.
And the reason for that question is the state requires that if there are, all owners have to agree to a lot split.
Yes,
And
sir.
then, are there any unpaid taxes on that parcel?
There's no unpaid taxes. There is a demo lien that the seller is aware of, that there was a previous structure on the property that has been removed
Okay,
and by the city, and he's going to be taking care of that at closing.
Tony, I have to dive into your, does that stop anything from them, from a city standpoint, with regard to allowing a lot split to go forward with planning?
I think planning can go ahead and make the recommendation, but before I go to city council, I will clarify if I can take it to them.
Okay, very good. Okay, so you want to take a little over 4/10 of an acre. It looks like it's 0.42
Yes, sir.
acres. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you want to go ahead and split it. So that ultimately meets the density ruling, because that is low density residential area there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you're going to end up with 0.19, clearly above the 7,500 minimum.
Roughly.
And because we have both a density rule here in Parker, which is no more than 5 residences per acre, but they don't all have to be the same size. They can be, but the minimum size, once you split them, has got to be at least 7,500 square feet. And that 0.192, that meets that requirement. And then you've got the other one, just almost a little more than a 0.22 acres. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the interior lot, because it is a corner parcel, the interior lot would be 60 by 140, and then the corner lot, in this case, would be 70 by 140 to allow for more setbacks on the corner.
And where is the demoing going to be going on? Would it be on the new lot that you're the lot you're going to build on, the subject parcel, or the non-subject parcel?
So the previous structure that was there was smack dab in the middle,
Okay.
of where these lots are now,
Okay.
where the proposed split would be.
Okay.
But there is no structure anymore, so there is just
Concrete?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's what you're talking about. That's got to come up before the new one gets built.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Commissioners, do we have any questions here for Mr. Santucci? All right, very good. So do we have enough information to proceed with either an approval with condition, or a denial?
Recommendation with clarification coming from Tony.
Okay, very good. So it's a conditional approval then. So the conditional approval is that our department of, Tony's department, Tony, Public Works, right, Director of Public Works, that our Director of Public Works makes the council members aware of the demo request that's currently on the property right now, which splits it, but they would have to do it in order to build but it's a conditional approval none the same, based on Tony making the council members aware of that requirement, right? Okay, very good, excellent. So that's
That's my motion.
that's the motion on the floor.
Second.
We get a second, can I get a vote, please?
Ms. Paul Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Stryker?
Yes.
Chairman Riga?
Yes, thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's an easy conditional requirement, because it sounds like you don't have to really do anything, except
it's all
Tony may have some questions for you about what's done. So you've already got the demo, you already got the permit to demo that out of the ground and everything, or?
Not the concrete yet, no, sir.
Okay.
The city, from what the seller was telling me, was the city had already basically removed everything.
Okay.
And then they slapped a lien on it, and
Okay.
so he was unaware of the lien until.
Okay, so the city of Parker has a lien
yes.
Code
for
enforcement.
whatever money is due because of the demoing, because it was what, unsafe, structure? Okay. Any
Yeah.
idea how much that lien is for?
It was the title company, Dunlap and Shipman, said it was about 8,000 or 9,000.
Does that seem about right, Tony?
Sellers, we
Okay.
worked it out in our, so it comes out of his proceeds.
Okay, you don't have any heartburn with, so they're essentially gonna pay that right to the city, and then they'll be able to,
That's pretty much probably what's gonna happen is we're gonna need a document stating that,
okay.
so that the council is aware that there is a lien, but it will be satisfied upon closing.
Oh, very good. Yeah, and actually, even before the property can split, right? I mean, he could buy it with a lien on it if he wants to, but, because we couldn't stop that, but we could certainly,
They could satisfy the lien at closing.
That's-
Yeah.
In front of council.
That's
Very
what
good.
our intention was.
excellent, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you improving the neighborhood. Thank you. All right. Tony, if you want a chair when you come on, you can just sit down. You don't have to stand at the
They
podium.
give him a recliner. Very simple.
Let me give everybody a summary. Okay, so Rich unfortunately got called off, and we had tasked Rich with ultimately summarizing language around de minimis structures, 120 square feet or smaller, being reviewed by Tony's department prior to proceeding with them, just to make sure that ultimately we had the applicant's name, we had the site location, we had the lot size. We wanted to make sure that impervious nature was not being infringed on, and we tasked him with doing that. Unfortunately, he can't be here. So we can kind of parlay that to the next one, but I think we all understand exactly what that's going to do. Item 2 that Tony had requested was storage of food trucks at residential addresses in LDR districts to perhaps be required to be removed to side or the rear yards. So that was one of the things that we were going to discuss. Another one was going to be a review of our MU1 and MU2 minimum lot sizes of 5,000 square feet. Okay. Why don't we just kind of hit them, you know, at the same level or at the same order of which we're bringing them up. So any thoughts on the storage of, so essentially a food truck owner will go conduct business, and then if he lives here in Parker, apparently there's some complaint that that person is parking that food truck in their driveway in the front. So what are your thoughts about changing that, ultimately making it so that it would be to the side yard requirement or backyard requirement or off premise in low density residential areas?
What's the requirement for any business truck? If you're a dump truck driver or a cement truck driver?
There's no restriction.
Pardon?
There's no restriction.
So you can park in your driveway in the front yard every day? How can we call that anything different? If you're
Well,
not running the food truck from
You
your
could
driveway?
you could make it comply like RVs.
Okay.
RVs have to be in the side yard or rear yard.
Okay, but how is then the food truck, how do we,
Well, if you work for a dump
Just-
truck person, you're just going home with another company's dump truck.
okay,
If you're running a food truck, you're the primary owner.
I gotcha.
And
Okay.
it might come to the same location each and every time.
Okay.
So let me ask the
And a lot
same
of times,
question.
if we and just what you're bringing up is another topic we could bring up in the future, but we have had multiple complaints about dump trucks coming down residential roads and other things, and that was a code issue, but we don't need to address that one today.
Yeah.
But we have told some of these dump trucks they need to, their employer needs to keep the truck there, and you come home and not bring your dump truck through that neighborhood.
And that makes sense.
We also have a food truck that operates on the weekends in a residential neighborhood.
Okay,
See,
that's already a code violation. Because if you look at what's accepted in the LDRs, running a business, that's running a business. Now, I heard somebody say to me the other day, and it was a good point. So if you can't run a food truck in a low density residential area, what about these ice cream trucks that go around occasionally? Isn't that a food truck? And it is.
It's just driving down the street.
It's just driving down the street, dinging the bell as opposed, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right,
so-
right.
Right.
So technically, the way I would challenge that is that you're not in low density residential, you're on public.
Yeah,
City
road.
street.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
not classified technically on the
Yeah.
property. But technically, you're saying, like what you just said, we're operating a food truck, if you look at home occupation,
Yeah,
that does violate everything, because you can't have to and from coming from your property.
right. Okay. So, one of the things we had talked about is the state of Florida is really being very strong about individual property rights these days. And you know, if you haven't gotten a chance to kind of review whether or not it might be infringing on somebody's personal rights in order to park their food truck in their front driveway, then that's okay. We can kind of push it off till next month when, you know, we have more members of the team. You guys interested in what I think?
Yep.
First of all, I'd want to know how big the problem is. I'd want to know if this is one or two vociferous people that are bitching about a neighbor who's got a food truck parking, because I live in Parker, and I can't tell you the last time I saw a food truck in somebody's driveway. And I drive a lot. So I'd want to know how big the problem is first. And the last thing we want to do is fix a problem where all you're really doing is you're meeting the need of one or two people who are complaining, but then you're infringing on everybody else who might want to park their food truck in their driveway, and I can't imagine them being a lot of them. I just can't imagine that being the case. And one thing I did do is I did review personal property rights, and I will tell you, there's a lot going on in terms of people being cited by their municipality, taking it to court and winning because it's infringing on their personal property rights. And it's what we talked about last month. It's called estoppel law. Estoppel law is if you have a reasonable person who thinks that it should be that a right is being removed from them because they should be able to park their personally owned food truck in their front driveway, then essentially there's a lot of things, a lot of cases siding with the property owner. So just look into that for maybe next time. We won't solve it now, but look into that. I have, and I can tell you that unless the problem gets so big and out of hand that it really is something we need to solve, I'd rather not solve a problem we don't have it at a large scale. Just my thought now.
Yeah, and any place there's an HOA takes care of it. HOAs don't allow one. So
Yes.
do we have HOAs anywhere?
We have a few.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So no issues there. We could maybe look at some of their verbiage if we want to get some ideas.
Well, the way state of Florida is going with HOAs right now, that might not be too much to worry
Okay,
about.
never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
exactly right,
And
because,
but I hear what you're saying too.
well, that was actually number 4. I'm glad you brought it up, so we'll revisit that. So
Okay.
just look at those estoppel laws, look at whether or not you feel as though we're infringing on that food truck owner's right, because, you know, that person then, we are then forcing that person to either find a way to park it on the side of their home or the back of their home. They may not have that availability, and we may then be infringing on their right to generate an income for them and their families. And you know, if they, or at least harming them if they have to then park that vehicle off-site. There might be a security issue there too. If it's on his property and it gets broken into, that's different if they, you know.
What about the places like U-Haul, I think it is, right there on Tyndall
Yeah.
Parkway?
Yeah.
That has the parking lot with everybody's RVs and
Yeah.
boats and things?
That's what I mean. But another step, you gotta go pick it up every day
And you have to
Leave a
pay for
car.
that.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
pay
gotta pay
for it,
dearly
it's
for
expensive.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're pricey.
Got it.
Yeah. Thank God I got a alley, I can park my RV in the back.
Yes.
One of the,
And you could park yours on the side. He doesn't have that ability, he's gotta
I
move
don't-
his
I'm
once
not
every 30
able.
days. Yeah,
not enough space between
Yeah.
houses.
That's right.
right.
When I moved here about 40 years ago, we had looked at Bay Point when we first got married, and we liked it. I had a bad habit at that time. I like to pull my car out in the middle of the driveway and take the engine out of it or whatever. You can't do that. Places like that. So we ended up settling in Parker for that reason, because it wasn't overbearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I kind of hate getting to somebody, like you talk about, taking away their livelihood.
we gotta remember, I agree, you gotta remember, we're in the United States.
Yeah.
And we don't, I've lived in gated communities as well, where you're right, you're out in your driveway at night welding up your mower deck because you just hit too many trees with it and the damn thing cracked. And 9 neighbors the next day complain about you
Right.
because you're welding your lawnmower on your property in your front yard. I like living in a neighborhood that doesn't complain like that.
I've never once had one of Tony's guys come by and say, well, the limbs of that tree are too long.
Yeah,
And you know.
yeah. So I get it. And listen, you know, Tony was clear about, hey, he's bringing these things to us to get our opinion, and we're being honest about our opinion. So nobody, you know, it just is one of those things where I'm almost always going to side on the property owner's rights, unless it's egregious. Okay.
And right now, they're just opinions. That's all.
Right. And because I literally took a drive with Kim last weekend, and I said I want to, on a Saturday night after about 7 o'clock, I want to see how many food trucks I can see in people's front yards. I did not find one. Now maybe we're in the wrong neighborhood. So, but it comes back to, I want to make sure we're not solving a problem that doesn't have to be
How
solved.
big a problem is it?
It's not,
Okay.
Yeah.
it's not like a super thing. It's just a topic to bring some discussion
Right.
up to see, you know, I just know it's a growing thing.
Right.
So as it grows, we might have to address it in the future. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's just something to just put on our radar that
It's kind of like what he said, if we don't have a problem,
Let's not solve it, yeah.
But I can see we're putting some guidelines in place proactively
Right.
heads off a problem. We won't have a problem. And Tony,
Yeah.
you've got real life experience, application, and eyes on the ground that you can see
Right.
what's happening and bring specific examples perhaps
Yeah,
for us to
I think our
consider.
biggest thing that we have to look at possibly is just the home occupation part of it first. That might have just been the caveat of the complaint that here's this in the yard, and they're doing this in the yard, and they're doing this. So
Gotcha.
we just nip one thing in the bud, and the problem might go away.
Okay. For right now, can we agree with this body right here that we can push that off until it becomes an issue?
yes.
Okay, very good. All right, and then item 3 was a review of MU1 and MU2 minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. So I want to make sure everybody, I listened to the tape of our meeting last month, and I kind of feel like what we got wrapped around the axle thinking that minimum lot size also meant like minimum building size. It's not. It's minimum lot size is just in a MU1 area, you can have up to 15 residences on 1 acre. On MU2, you can have up to, well, just think about high rises though. And you get one high, you got one, like, look over at East Bay Flats, one building is what, 30 residents, right? So what we're essentially saying is that you need to have at least 1 acre for 25 residences in an MU2 and 15 for an MU1. And the concept there is that we live in Parker and we don't want to repeat, the sins of Panama City Beach. I mean, look at those guys. You can drive a mile and not see the Gulf and you're 200 yards from it. So we're trying to keep that in mind and trying to maintain sort of that, Mulberry, look about us. I assume that that's what the developers or the people who developed the vision of Parker was coming up about. So what this is essentially saying is that in MU1, in order to build, you need at least 5,000. That's the minimum lot size in order to build. It could be a multiple dwelling. Okay, so you need at least 5,000 square feet. And if you just put like one duplex on that, and then you look at how many 5,000 square feet there are in 43,560, what are you going to end up with? What's the math on that? So 8.
What, 5 into
So-
42,
so-
8 and
Yeah,
some change?
so if you took one duplex, okay, per every 5,000 square feet, you'd already be exceeding in an MU1 that 15. So I kind of think that number works for us. And for MU2, of course, you're going up. So now you're building an apartment complex or a condo, and it's really designed to keep us, in that, Mayberry RFD
And it's plenty small.
arena. Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
5,000 is fairly
Yeah.
small.
Now it's different if you're building a hotel, okay? Because those are really not residences. That's a commercial business, and they don't have that restriction in a commercial area. But in MU1, which is mixed use, which is designed for residences and businesses, we want to be concerned for the individuals that are literally in that area that are also living there. So I think, can we agree that 5,000 might be the right number? And Tony, I did go ahead, and I'm sorry to be so long-winded, but I did go ahead and I took your lead, and I looked at other municipalities that are out there. And you're right, some of the big ones, some of the big boys, like you get into Stuart, Florida, and Miami, they do have a smaller footprint. They require 2,500, 2,800. They have different numbers, but we're Parker. And one thing that that happened 2 years ago was the Affordability Housing Act initiated by Florida. And what they've essentially said is that if you're a low-density residential area, you're exempt from that style of so somebody can't come in and build a 50-story building in a low-density residential area.
Right.
But what the Affordable Housing Act specifically says is that every other district in your area, they can violate your district laws. So if somebody comes in and says, I want to build a 30-story building in an MU1, MU2, violate your 15 and 25, I can do that because the state has supremacy guidelines that ultimately override what our municipality rules are. So right now, thank God, you know, we don't have too much new area to build on. But if it was a deemed affordable housing, you could violate those rules. I would. So anyway, all of that just to go ahead and say, 5,000 is probably the right number
Agreed.
to limit the populace of the area. So that was item number 3. You guys okay with that?
You okay?
See, without 5 people here, we get done. We get a lot more stuff done. Okay. Okay. And then the other one was Ann had some really good input last month on minimum home size because she was talking about Fannie and Freddie requirements for home size. Now there are 31 states that do have requirements at a state level for minimum home size. Florida does not. Florida is one of the 19 that does not. The only thing they do is they ultimately say that in order for a room to be habitable, it has to be a minimum of 70 square feet, and in that same residence, there has to be a minimum 120 square foot room in that same home. Okay? So they don't say 800 square foot home, 1,200 square foot home. Those are usually reserved for HOAs and municipalities that ultimately wish to establish a neighborhood. Like for example, if a subdivision is being built, they may say minimum home size 1,800 square feet, that kind of thing. So with regard to, now we do specifically, if you look in the definitions page, we say no tiny homes, and we define a tiny home as 400 square feet or smaller. So we say that's the only restriction we have right now. So what are your thoughts about, other municipalities have said minimum home size, but the state has not. The state specifically is staying out of that. And in fact, the trend is smaller homes, not bigger homes, by a long shot. That's the trend. Now that might be because of pricing. It might be because of economic, you know, where the world has gone over the last couple of years. Big homes are much more pricey to build, you know. Used to be you could build a decent home for $90 a square foot. Now it's, to get a decent home, you're probably talking $250, $280 minimum.
More than that.
Yeah, yeah, per square foot. So, do you at a municipality standpoint, because Tony gets questions from builders, what's the smallest home that I can build? And the pressure obviously is, if you got a guy with a 2,000 square foot home, do we want him to build a 401 square foot home right next to it?
Well, the shoe could be on the other foot. The guy next door wants to build a $10,000 square foot home and views Mr. 2,000 square feet as a problem.
Right.
So the 400 is a good number for
Really
a
good
tiny
point.
home. It's all perspective. It just
Yeah.
depends on which lot you're on or which house you're in. The 400 seems like that would be a good number. Anything smaller would probably not even be a stick-built, I mean, on the land. Then it would fall into trailer, mobile home,
Yeah.
or modular home, and that would be a different restriction altogether.
Yeah.
So it seems like 400 would work, and I think from what I remember, FHA actually says, okay, 400. Used to be 7, and I
Yeah.
think they've come down.
Well, and you gave us an education last month that I was not aware of, and I was really thankful for it. It was about
The lender
Fannie and
overlay?
Freddie will require a minimum lot size in order to give a loan. So there's one mechanism already in place that ultimately restricts how small they can be. And the second thing you said is that you can't build a small, tiny home on a beautiful piece of land on the water, because I think you said a 65% ratio of the value of the home versus the land.
Correct. It's called land to value ratio. You run into that when you've got a shack on 10 acres of valuable property. There's not enough value in the dwelling for the lender to accept it as collateral. Now, if you're paying cash, who cares?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to put it into a loan pool, all lenders want 65% of the value in the dwelling, not the dirt. So a shack on waterfront, a property or a trailer on 10 acres, not going to work. So those are issues on a bigger level. And then you also can have lenders with specific overlays so that even if Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, VA allows it, to get to them, you have to go through a lender. Pick any, Trustmark, Truist, Bank of America, any of those guys. They can have specific lender overlays with minimums that are even more conservative than the end game. So that can be an issue, but I would think your 400 tiny home would address it. In terms of affecting the value of the house next door, it's square footage. It's not going to bring the value down of the 2,000 square foot home. And again, Mr. 2,000 square feet might be looked down upon from Mr. 3, 4, 5, or 6,000 square feet.
So each home is going to be evaluated. In Florida is that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very likely you could have a 6,000 square foot home right next to a house trailer. I've seen that.
Correct.
Seen that in North Carolina, where my sister-in-law lives as well, where they, and the homes themselves are evaluated based on the homes themselves.
Right.
Yeah. I know why they're wanting to build smaller and smaller though too, because to this day, we're still the fastest growing state in the nation because of freedom and property taxes and things of that nature. So is it your assessment then that the requirement of no tiny homes in Parker of 400 square feet is where we should leave that number?
I would think.
Are we missing anything?
No.
Okay, all right, very good. Are we okay? Can we check that one off the list?
Yeah, I didn't agree with that before I listened to you, and I agree with it now.
Okay, oh, okay. Well, but I
think
understood.
as long as the lot size
Yeah,
stays at 5,000 square feet,
yeah,
whatever you put on it
yeah.
should take care of itself.
The other thing that you see too is if somebody builds a small home and then somebody else buys it, later on they could always add on to it.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree with Ann more. You have such diversity in the style of homes. I don't know that your neighbor's home is really going to impact the value of your home. Now, that's providing you don't have rats and decrepitated home and one that is in severe disrepair and all of that.
Or a food truck in the driveway.
But we or a food truck. Well, except if it's if they're selling Philly cheesesteaks, you might get a
Right, but
deal.
I'm
It
in.
might be a benefit.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and say we already have something there that says no tiny homes because we didn't want to go in that direction. And that's the state defines it and we define it. A tiny home is 400 square feet and smaller. So I'm going to put a check mark there, okay? That we're
Good as is.
okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, very good. The other one was Tony brought this up. RV. These right now we have. If you are building a home, we have rules that ultimately have said you can bring an RV or a mobile home into that lot while that home is being built. Okay, and so I went to that because I didn't remember all the detail. And Tony, this is going to be more. Let's see, 549. I went to this because I remembered some good discussion around this when we were discussing it with the council members. And I feel like the city right now already holds all the marbles. And let me read the passages here. So first of all, this is under temporary permit. It's in 5-49 in our land development rules. And it says a permit may be granted only where the city determines that such a permit is in the best interest of the city and the mobile home, manufactured home is to be occupied rent-free by a blood relative. In other words, we're not renting it somebody for the benefit of cash. So that person's probably going to be living there while the home is being built. And the mobile home, manufactured home is to be used exclusively as an office. So they contradict each other, okay? So because it does say best interest of the city and mobile home, manufacturing home is to be occupied rent-free by a blood relative, and the mobile home manufacturing home is to be used exclusively as an office during construction. I think when we wrote this up, the final person who wrote this was Mr. Sloan, and I think that word "and" should not have been there.
Correct.
I think
I agree.
what should have, so I think if anything, what we need to do is exclude that word, okay? And then I think it needs to say something like the following conditions should be considered when the city clerk determines whether or not that temporary permit should be applied. And it should be, the reason for the blood relative is we didn't want there to be a mobile home there and them renting it out.
Right.
Okay, it was really supposed to be while their big beautiful home was being
Correct.
built as a place for them to live
Correct.
while they oversaw the construction, okay? And then it goes on to say the mobile home manufacturing home is to be occupied as a residence during the period of construction, okay? And then it also says, no significant harm to the interest of adjoining and nearby landowners will result if such permit is granted and special circumstances exist which will result in undue hardship to the applicant. In other words, the applicant, another Hurricane Michael comes along, blows their home away. If we say, no, you can't have a mobile home there, they got no place to live. That would be a pretty significant undue hardship. So I really feel like we hold all the marbles when we read this language and remove the word "and" from the LDR. So it does say permit may be granted only where the city determines that such permit is in the best interest of the city. Your department can already see, your planning group can
And
say,
I understand what you're saying, but so let me just try to paint like a different picture. So say the property there at Donaldson in Donaldson Point right there on Thornton, that big property right there.
yeah,
Right when you come in off Eflin. So say he wanted to set a mobile home there for a year while he developed that property. You know, the census of the neighborhood is not gonna be happy
yeah,
that there's a mobile home back on what used to be a mobile home park.
yeah,
You know, so, and if it came across my desk, you know, technically I'm looking at a mobile home to produce some houses, you know,
Okay.
within a year, you know, but it's just, that's the kind of pictures we can paint. You would never see a mobile home probably going a single family home a lot, but if you saw, you know, acres,
mhm.
someone would probably set something there while they were working on building those lots. But, I mean, I understand what you're saying. We ultimately have the power to deny it, but I'm gonna have to have reason why.
Let's do this. Let's strike, I get that,
Mhm.
because I wouldn't want one moving in next to me, because you're right, it could be a problem. Let's then strike A and C. Here's what A says. So, a permit may be granted only where the city determines that such permit is in the best interest of the city, and then strike, the mobile home manufactured home is to be occupied rent-free by a blood relative. So in other words, strike out that entire area which talks about it being occupied, okay? And leave B, which says the mobile home manufacturing home is to be used exclusively as an office. You okay with that?
Yep.
So, you know, and those aren't normally gonna be 50-foot mobile homes. They're
Right.
gonna be like 20-foot, you know, where they've got an office and they can lock up their documents and everything. So strike A, okay, strike.
Is it a trailer or a RV?
No,
Well, see,
this,
RVs are fine,
Right.
but the permit specifically says mobile home
yeah,
or
yeah,
RV.
yeah. It's, well, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, now there's a different provision for an RV though.
Yeah.
You can have an RV.
right.
So.
They're just both on the same application.
So I'm gonna suggest striking A and then striking C. So A was the mobile home manufacturing home is to be occupied rent-free by a blood relative where the second degree of consanguinity of a person or the spouse, la, la, la. And then C is the mobile home manufacturing home to be occupied as a residence during the period of construction. So we would strike that. So we would leave, permit may be granted only where the city determines that such permit is in the best interest of the city, and then leave the word "and." The mobile home manufactured home is to be used exclusively as an office during a construction project, or no significant harm to the interest of adjoining and nearby landowners will result if such permit is granted and special circumstances exist, which will result in undue hardship, and that would only be in reference to it being used as an office.
Can you say instead of mobile home, a mobile office?
Yeah,
Cause that would kind
Yeah.
of put it out of the picture.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking,
Yeah,
we've
right.
all seen construction
Well, so,
trailers.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
usually like that pale green,
Yeah.
gray, color, they're not
20
actually.
foot, 30 foot long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So what we would do is effectively remove the ability for individuals to live in a mobile home next to that property.
Right.
They can have one as an office or as a place to lock up their tools at night, but we would effectively remove the ability. Okay, so that's what we'll then bring to council to change. You okay with that? Okay, very good. All right. Well, thank you, guys. We are kind of moving right along here. All right, very good. And then, I think that was it, right? RV, the mobile home, yeah. So it was,
Ready for me to add some more?
well, the first one is gotta be Rich. That's Rich's Ballywhack. And that's gonna be, when he talks about, de minimis and what oversight there would be. So you wanna add some more?
Yeah, so I need y'all to look at Senate Bill 48.
Senate Bill 48. Look at,
It addresses accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Currently, our LDR, they're prohibited.
say it again?
ADU,
What do you?
Accessory dwelling unit.
additional- yes.
Oh, okay.
Dwelling.
Yep.
so the Senate Bill 48 is making it required that municipalities to allow ADUs
They do.
by
Really?
December of 2026.
And they're, we called them in-law suites before.
Granny flats.
Now, here's where
Does
that's
that mean like
probably.
let people live in sheds? Is that what you're saying?
No, no,
No, above the
no,
garage.
it still
Little
has to, I mean, it
apartments.
still has to
Oh,
be.
like
In-law
apartments.
suites.
Yeah.
Back in
In-law
the
suites.
day, some people used to call them
Yeah.
pool houses.
Okay.
Yeah, your mother turns to, she's 99
Sure.
and she can't, but you don't want her in the house, but you want her,
She
you know,
wants her privacy.
because the dog bites her,
Sure.
so ultimately, you
Build
move
something
her
over the
into a-
garage.
they used to call them mother-in-law suites,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're referring to them as granny flats,
Yeah.
backyard cottages. But basically, they're pushing the big thing is that they want them used for family members and caregivers.
But here's the good news about that is if we eliminate that, the provision that says no ADUs right now, which I remember
Right.
that was something I think was being pushed by Ms. Galbraith and
It happened down.
Gibson, yes.
Happened down the end of Cedar. Mr. Wassefek.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
one
that's
onto
right.
Logan Court, and
Yeah.
people went wild.
That's right.
It had a different address.
Yeah.
Western Maddox built it and there was a big uproar.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we still have the density rule.
Right.
So if you can move your mother-in-law in, build her a 900 square foot
Yeah.
mother-in-law suite, and the density law isn't being
Right.
violated, why not? It's your property.
400 square
Density,
foot.
yeah, density law, there you go. Density law, and then also the impervious, right? Because we have the impervious, you can't have more than 40% impervious.
They meet
Another
all
house
that
like
criteria.
on Parkway Drive and the accessories in the, kind of off the alley.
Yeah, Dave and Michelle's home was built in the 50s,
Yeah.
and so they're all
That went
grandfathered
way
in.
back. I don't
And
know
thank
how
God they had that because
Yeah.
Hurricane Michael destroyed their home, and that's where they're living, even now until their home gets
In
is
their
being
garage.
rebuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a garage attached to a really nice efficiency
Oh,
apartment. There are neighbors across the alley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so your recommendation is to remove that provision because a Senate bill
Yeah,
is
basically-
requiring it.
Basically, what I've been reading and keeping up with is that they're making it by December 2026 that all municipalities need to, and I know it's gotta go through one more thing, but it's rapidly passing 100% support.
And
deal.
this is to allow ADUs?
To allow them, yeah.
Okay.
But again, we have other provisions in place that will still prevent that low-density residential arena from being affected because, density rule and impervious law.
Sounds like a verbal.
Now, if your lot's big enough, you got a 2,500 square foot home on a full acre, and you've got your 400 unit ADU for your mother-in-law, and your
Yeah.
400 unit ADU for your adult son that hasn't moved away from home yet, and a 400 square foot ADU. I mean, how many can you have? As long as we're still meeting all the criteria, it's meeting the criteria of a tiny home. They're ADUs and they're blood relatives. Are there any restriction on the number?
Well, Well, we didn't say anything about blood relatives for an
Well,
ADU, but,
Okay, but I mean, there's,
yeah.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
If we've got a big enough lot,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I've seen in the bill that says there's a quantity or limitation.
Got it.
It just says the municipalities have to allow them.
And generally, when the state does that kind of thing, like for the Affordable Housing Act, they then push their supremacy ruling and say, there's a statement likely in that says no municipality can infringe on that right.
there are
So
also
you-
issues with Fannie and Freddie with number of outbuildings, if they're habitable, whether or not they're attached, whether you call them a 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, et cetera. So
Yeah.
those things would gum it up a little bit.
Yeah, the
but-
biggest thing is you can't address it, you can't
Can't
address
give it its
A
own
and B.
address.
You can't give its own address, you can't,
Right,
2 mailboxes out front.
right.
Yeah,
We
Can't
have
be on,
people do that all the time.
yeah.
can't be on separate utility bills, et
Correct.
cetera.
No
Okay.
separate meters.
It's kind of like the one on 9th Street, 9th and Hickory. Right, like right off the garage.
Yes.
You know
That
what I'm
was
talking
one of them.
That, yeah.
All right, so Tony, right now, we've got Rich coming back with how we'll oversee the de minimis structures, and then we're gonna all look at the Senate Bill 48. Thanks for bringing, anything else?
Do I just have one topic to talk about, just because you brought up mixed use 1 and mixed use 2? For some reason, some people have and maybe it's my view of it, but I've read what the definition of that is by what people think it is. And what I've come up with is basically mixed use is so you can have a dwelling that would have a livable space, an office space, a working space, in that unit. Some people feel that if they have a lot of land, they can have a house and a business separate on that land. What is your take on that?
My take is that that's really how it was designed. I mean, if you go into some of these
Separate or all in one?
well,
Either.
It would be either, because, I mean, you oftentimes have restaurant owners that live in the second floor, throughout suburbs of Chicago, throughout Philadelphia, throughout New York,
Right, well,
throughout,
that's what my interpret of that is.
Yeah.
Is
He's asking
living
about
above
a
it.
separate
But what I'm talking about
building.
is I have people that are talking about that I have a duplex on this property for residential or for people to rent.
yeah,
But then I want to have this commercial business on the property built in conjunction with those house rentals.
yeah.
But the way I read mixed use is it's one structure doing multiple things, not multiple structures doing multiple things.
Well, keep in mind, mixed use is use. Structures are structures. They're two different categories now. So if an area is mixed use, it's talking about what that area will accept. And then individual structures, they have their own requirements for building and all of that stuff. The use is really just about what can be done in that district. The structure, there are gonna be limitations about what structures, can be built and how they're built and all of that stuff. So I would say as long as you're not violating in an MU1 or an MU2, as long as you're not violating any of the other rules regarding density, regarding minimum lot size, regarding, prohibited businesses in that area, it's okay to have more than one structure.
That's what I'm just trying to clarity, because, if you have a single family home there and then someone wants to build a restaurant on the same lot, that's what I'm trying to look in this planning
Yeah.
area that I'm in, that, everybody's trying to.
Yeah. You gotta, and I don't see an issue with that.
No
You
problem.
go-
And that's
yeah,
what I'm just trying to feel
yeah,
out to see,
yeah.
educate myself on this to how these developments come in, because these developments will come to y'all, and, but then I'm just trying to make sure I
Yeah.
dot my i's and cross my t's on, that's the census of how we feel.
Oh, yeah. And then we even have in low-density residential areas, we have some businesses that exist in their residences, like, right up Ethelyn. You've got a lady who cuts people hair. That's a functional business.
She's not there anymore, but she
Yeah.
used
But it used to be,
Used
right?
to, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the concept is that,
Yeah, I
you have
wish
them
she
in
was
the-
there.
But
yeah,
But unfortunately, like what you just brought up, they're not there anymore, so she was probably grandfathered in.
Yeah.
But by the rules of the LDR, that wouldn't be allowed. A home occupation that has clients come to and from the house.
I can't give music lessons at my house.
Right. I mean, we're the reason we're really looking at it is because
Yeah,
code.
it's
Yeah.
against the law.
Just to simple.
Right.
Well, it's not mixed use. You're in a low
Right.
density
Yeah.
residential, but in a mixed use you could.
Yeah, mixed use you could, yeah, but
Right.
like I said, low density residential, I'm under the home occupation provisions. It disallows you from having employees come into your house, disallows you from having clients and traffic back and forth. You know, there's a lot of rules on, you can't have the frequent traffic on your residential road.
I thought there was something about Florida State's laws that allowed you to have a real small business, like maybe.
You can have home occupations, you know, embroidery and, you know, doing things from your house, mail outs and stuff like that, but they don't want you to have a
Much
home
groceries given
mechanic
mail.
shop
Right.
at your
right.
house and people dropping off the cars and then you're pulling engines out in the front yard.
Well, that's a little different.
We have it happening in Parker.
Well,
Wow.
what John
So-
has is perfectly
Correct,
licensed
correct.
properly, that's
Correct,
not.
but matter of fact, we've had 2 complaints just this month of people running mechanic businesses out of their residence.
Hmm.
You know, so those have to be investigated and looked at and questioned, you know, but
Now, I have brought a mechanic to my home to change the oil of my RV in my driveway.
Yeah, that's
Saves
different.
me a trip to
That's a little
Dothan.
different.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and
That's
Well,
a
what are you
good
gonna do if your car breaks down in your driveway?
Yeah,
Right.
there you
That's-
go.
You
That's
don't have a
right.
lot of
That's
choices.
true.
one.
Yeah, you know, I thought that there
I know
was,
when they start trying to
you think of Mr. Ray, I can try to help you. I've been reading about as much as you have.
well,
Panama City, when they try to repurpose something from residential to mixed use, they get a lot of pushback from the residences in that area, cause they say, oh, they're gonna bring in this business, and they could have residence and a business in the same area, and those people don't like that.
Oh, and a
We
mixed
wrote-
use, I would think there'd be some definition of what mixed uses
Well,
are
I
allowed. A
think
commercial restaurant would not be one of them, not in a mixed use property, would it?
Why not?
oh, it is.
It is.
It
Yeah,
is?
MU one and
They
MU
could get a
two.
massage
Yeah, if
parlors and
It's in the
nail
definitions.
Like even in
part.
mixed use, you can have retail, you just can't have a large retail store.
Okay.
you know,
Not a
but you-
Dollar General.
Yeah,
But so how residential is an MU area that residents would then complain? I mean, if you choose to live in a mixed use area, it's not like one lot is mixed use in a residential area, correct?
so basically most of it, how it was designed on the,
He has a
Most-
map right there.
Okay.
well, most of it, the way it was designed was anything that's commercial, the road right behind it's mixed use.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
basically like on Second Street, everything on this back road that backs it
Ah,
is
Okay.
mixed use,
okay.
you know. So we had
But
a
then across the
developer-
street is residential.
Yeah, we had a developer at one time that we had houses on the left and right, and he wanted to buy the empty lot in the middle and build a warehouse right in the middle of, but it was mixed use, so it was allowable use. So those are the things that we kind of, you know, the whole neighborhood's gonna go around a metal warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but if we have an MU right in the middle of a whole neighborhood, that's,
Well, no, I'm saying MU's on one side, and it's
Okay.
all houses, but
Okay.
one lot in the middle of it was empty still.
I gotcha.
And the other side was all houses. But that's why, luckily, it was bought by another developer and he built a house.
Okay.
Oh, Terry, I know you said you had a deadline for 6 o'clock,
I'm
right?
okay, right, yeah.
Okay. There are some home residential businesses that are acceptable. But it's gonna be like in 5.4 something, 5.4.3. So we'll go ahead and we'll cover that the next time. But, okay, so right now, so we just have that, we're gonna look at
Just
Senate
ADU
Bill.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, Senate Bill 48, and then also we'll get back to you once Rich gets back here with regard to the de minimis structures. All right, very good. Terry, anything you want to address the group
Now
with?
that I think of,
No? Ann, how about you?
I'm good.
Thanks for showing up. We really appreciate
Thank you
having a
for the
labor quorum.
reminder.
Donna, anything we need to
Okay.
know? We got a new clerk coming. You want to tell us?
She starts next Tuesday.
Yay.
Yeah.
Didn't miss
Yeah.
you.
Not Monday?
No, our pay period starts on a Tuesday.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Tony, I know you've
Okay.
been talking a lot, but anything else you want to tell us? I'm going to shut the meeting down. Thanks for all that you guys do.